but because we have so many people missing, it's good for them to have a recording and access it. So the first thing is, welcome. I want to apologize up front for being so remiss in contacting this group, because quite honestly, we've had a little bit of turmoil with our summer travel groups, and we've had to make some adjustments and rejiggering things. So I just wanted to be sure that when I addressed you all and when I brought you together, that we had concrete information to share. So that leads me to travel. A reality, yes, it's a reality, but post-pandemic travel is just not what we're used to. And the one thing I can absolutely say post-pandemic is flexibility is by far the only thing you need to pack in your suitcase other than a passport. And that leads me to our big discussion, which will be probably our first 12 slides or 10 slides or so. And that is really to talk about our tour. And yes, we are going to Japan this year. If you have noticed, I don't use the word China in the conversation anymore, because China is not approved for EF and for our tour this year. So I apologize for that, but we will not be going to China on this tour. So if China was a major part of your decision in going on this tour this summer, we will have to discuss other options for you. But please know that we are working so much to make this tour the best it can be. And I think most of us were in it for Japan, but it was always good to get another country and another, wonder of the world in, which was the Great Wall. And that's why we were looking to do China, but that's just not going to happen. And I tried to hold off for as long as I possibly could. And I'll be very transparent with what drives my decisions and what timing it takes. But essentially our 110-day mark is about 2 weeks away. And at 110 days, that's when you have to pay your balance. And I didn't want to jeopardize people not knowing what's going on with this tour and having paid their balance and then learning of it later and then having more money into EF. So I really wanted to be able to share with you as much information as I possibly have before the 110-day mark so that you can make a decision accordingly. But let me just say one thing is that I'm excited to go to Japan. I'm excited for the possibilities of what could potentially replace China. But the main conversation of tonight is to let you know that 100% China is off the table. We got that word actually today. I've been pushing and pushing and pushing, telling him when my meeting was, and I just got a definitive answer that China is not going to happen. So that's where we are. We are considering modifications, and this is the exciting part. We are considering modifications to the Japan tour. And let me just say that if anybody has questions in their head as we go, throw them in the chat. I'll address every question in the chat when I pause at different parts of the presentation. So don't think you have to remember them or go back to them at the end. If you throw them in the chat, then I actually will change the settings so that you can text anybody, which means you could text me directly. If you don't want to share it with the whole group, you could text the whole group, which says everyone, or one or the other. But throw them in the chat. Let's have an open discussion and really be transparent about all the information. So one of the things, I'll get back to the modifications. So Japan. So the Japan tour as it is, I believe is a 9-day tour. And for me, that just seems a little too short of a time frame to go and do a 12-hour flight to Japan and then back again. So I really wanted to put that 4 days that we had in China somewhere else. And as of right now, we don't have anything that has been approved. However, I've narrowed down to a destination that I would like to offer as an extension. And what the word extension means in the EF Tours language is that you don't have to do it, but if you want to add it, it's there as a choice. And I'll tell you what that destination is. It's not approved. It's not even close to being approved. But the reason I feel really comfortable sharing it is because it is already an extension that they offer on another tour. And because they have suppliers in that area, they have hotels, they have the logistics built in, I'm hoping that they will consider letting us add it to this tour. And everybody's going to start to Google as soon as I say it, because it's really not a place that anybody has top of mind. But they have a South Korea tour, and on the extension, there's an extension to Jeju, Jeju. And that place, I'm going to call it the Easter Island / Hawaii / Far East destination. It has a lot of the same things that you'll find on the Hawaiian Islands, a little bit of Easter Island, a little bit of Southeast Asia. So the reason I chose that, one primary reason is it's already an extension that's built into a different tour. Two, it's much more relaxing and outdoorsy than the rest of our tour. And I thought that that would be a nice ending to our Japan tour, since Japan is a lot of cities. It's got a lot of, it just offers a completely different flavor, and it offers a different country. And I know for a lot of people, hitting 2 countries was interesting to you all. So think about that. It's, again, not approved, not even added, but it is something that we're really pushing for. So we're hoping that we can offer some kind of modification so that we can offer the 9-day tour for those that want to stay just in Japan, and then an extra 3 or 4 day extension for those that would be interested in going to a different location. And that leads me to the departure date. Again, no approval on the departure date because of what's been happening with the tour. Everybody's been waiting on China. Now that we know China is completely out, we will be able to get to a departure date, but at the same time, not knowing if we have this extension put in place or not puts us back in limbo, because obviously the logistics haven't been confirmed yet. So we are in limbo, but we know we're going. So please know that Japan is 100% on, and it's just the logistics around the rest of it that are a lot of it not defined. So, I will pause to say that I feel absolutely horrible about this, not because I'm not excited about Japan, I am, but I know that people plan these things and think about them for years on end. And this summer is just so disappointing for me to be able to share the information, because I had a Peru trip that is not happening this summer, and now the China part of this trip is not happening this summer. And quite honestly, I thought once we got out of the pandemic, I wouldn't have to share bad news anymore with our travelers. And it's just been a hell of a 2 months for me to share these summer trips. But like I said, I'm very excited about the Japan part. And I think truly the China was an add-on to begin with. So I'm hoping that we can either substitute it with something that might be even more exciting for people, or at least get the most out of our Japan itinerary that we had. And what does that mean from a tour perspective? If we make a modification, one is that the pricing would be adjusted. Obviously, if we take off the China part, the pricing for the China part will come off as well. But we'll get to that as we know more about whether we're able to offer the extension or not. So this leads us to, what does international travel look like? Because it's obvious that we have to have a lot of flexibility, and it's not the same as what it was pre-pandemic. It's important for us to know that Japan right now still has a vaccination requirement, that if you are vaccinated, you can come in the country. If you are not vaccinated, you need a PCR test within 24, 48 hours before you go in the country. However, it is not important for us to know that, because that's as of March 8th. And we've been told that mid-April, they're going to lift their vaccine requirements completely, and that will change. I don't know if that's the case or not. This is what it looks like today, but that doesn't mean it's going to look like that when we travel. But regardless, no matter where you travel, you should always have your vaccine card in your passport little book. And if you're not vaccinated, you should be prepared to have that PCR test before we go. And I have to say, Regardless of the EF rules, I have been requiring just a home test sent to me before we travel, the day before we travel. It just allows me to know and everybody to know that we're going into this in a safe group of well people and nobody's bringing COVID with them. But it is not required, but it is something that we've been doing as I guess, a good faith measure. So this kind of goes a little bit further on the EF safety policy. Right now, EF does not require vaccinations, but as I said, if you're not vaccinated, the country may require a pre-test. But again, we don't know that at this point. I went to Japan in January, and it was mandated that masks were worn 24/7 in the airports and on the airplanes. But we think that come April, that's going to change as well. We did not have to wear masks outside. We didn't have to wear masks in some establishments. And I wasn't in Japan. I just went through Japan to get to Thailand and back again. But I was on a Japanese airline, and that was the mandate of the Japanese airline. So, so it's fluid, right? We're March, April, May, June, July. We still have 4 months, and these rules are going to change 20 times in the next 4 months. And that's what we have to get used to. It's completely fluid, changes constantly. So please do not use this information as the last bit of information. I will keep you updated. I will keep you informed. I will tell you what you need to do before we go. I know a lot of you on this call have been on other tours with me, and you know that it is typical or natural for people to get sick of some sort since the pandemic, because a lot of us have been shut in for 18 to 24 months. We're not exposed to the same germs that we were exposed to before. Our immune systems are a little bit low. So even if people are not catching COVID, there are a lot of colds and other viruses out there that people are catching. On tour, if we have people that are ill, I just ask you to be mindful and be respectful and mask up, double mask, do whatever you have to do to protect yourselves and others while you're on tour. But you're not going to be asked to leave the tour. You're not going to be taken off the tour. You're just, you're just asked to be mindful of those around you and be respectful of that. Okay, so again, I know that a couple people just joined before my first slide in this one. We are going in 2023. We are going to Japan. We don't know where else we're going. We don't exactly know what date we're going, but right now China is off the table completely, and we are preparing to go to Japan. If you don't want to go in 2023 because you're going to be like, no way, Mara, I only am going on this tour because I was going to China. I don't want to go to Japan without China. I don't understand that thought, but that's okay. I mean, everybody's got their own reasons. You might have just been on it for that 4 days and not for the 9 days of Japan. There are options. The options aren't terrific, but they are good ones. You have the ability to cancel for a voucher, which means that you get the amount of money that you paid in back in a voucher. It's actually not, say you're paid off, you would get the cancellation money in a voucher, and then you'd get everything else back in cash. But what anything that is in there would come to you as a voucher, and then you could use that voucher on another EF tour, hopefully one that I'm leading. And if you don't want to go on one that I'm leading because I'm not leading a tour to a place you like, then I would find you another tour that you could use it on. Or you can cancel for cash, get all your money back, except $500 would be the penalty fee for a cash refund. So where else could you use your voucher if you chose to? You could use it on any of the 4 tours that I have up that are my tours. Peru 2025, as I just indicated before, our 2023 Peru trip has been moved to 2025 because Peru has been deemed to be not safe, especially for students. There are some adult tours going to Peru in the summer, but again, I used the same principle to make that decision. It was 110 days out from our final payments, and I didn't think it was fair for people to sort of string them along and not be able to tell them whether we were going or not, and then having them have a larger financial implication. So I made the decision about I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago for the Peru people. And so now we're doing a trip in 2025 for Peru, which is awesome. And then it allows a lot of people to join that might even be going on this 2023 trip to look at another trip in the future. We also have London, Paris, Switzerland in 2025. And then I have 2 adult tours. If you are an adult and you choose to move your money from this Japan tour, we could get a voucher and then move it over to either Southern Italy food and wine tour or Croatia and Slovenia. But I hope, honestly, I hope that just because the China part of it is off the table, it does not taint your excitement for going to Japan, because truly that is the bulk of the tour and really the itinerary part that I was excited about, and I hope you are as well. So these are just, you know, preparing to go. I ask people to isolate a little bit if they can. Just be mindful of the couple weeks before you go on tour. You know, try not to put yourself in a huge position with tons of people. And if you are, just wear a mask just so that you're safe and you're not bringing our little COVID friend with you on tour. But again, you know, I always say, like, just send me a home test and just test yourself so that we know that we're going into the tours nice and healthy. Triple check all your documents, vaccinations up to date. Passport expiration dates should be no earlier than January 30th, 2024. That's 6 months after we land, hopefully, return to the US. And we just want to make sure everybody's passport is in order. And then let's start talking about the fun stuff, planning this trip out. Before we do that, I'm going to pause and I'm going to talk about this part of it, because the next part is all moving forward. We're in it, we're going, but I want to pause and just say, if we have questions on what we just discussed, the no China part, the potential modifications, and thus, I'd like to deal with that now, and then we could deal with the whole preparing for the tour after. So I'm going to look in the chat first, and I'm going to go over what questions we have here, and then we can open up and we can turn off our we can unplug our mics if people have questions that they'd like to voice in real time. So Killian, yes, if we do not add, if we're not able to add an extension, the tour price will come down. So the China part will come off, the modification of the money that was allocated for the China part will come off, and everybody will have an adjusted balance based on the Japan part only. So I'm going to delete these. Well, I don't even know if I could do this, but I'll just go down them and see if I can do my best to get them all. With China being removed, does the price of the, yep, we got that. And Jen, yes, another reason. So Jen's question is, will Jeju possibly, the possible addition fit into the original price? That was part of my criteria. I'm looking for something that, you know, China's cheap, right? It was a very cheap part of the tour. And I'm looking for something that could possibly be in the same budget range. So that's part of my, navigating what would be a good change out. Now, at the same time, I'll tell you, we had the same thing happen for Peru and my modifications for that tour. They allotted me $300 extra of leeway to keep the tour price the same. So for example, I'm making this dollar amount up, but say you paid $5,000 for this tour. If the pricing comes in at $5,300, they were allotting the $300 and not charging extra. So we're pushing them to do the same thing for this tour. Even though that was a little different, we couldn't take the entire tour. This one, we're only not being able to take a little portion of it. We're still pushing for that $300 allowance. So if the Jeju comes in at the China price plus $300, we're hoping at this point that it does not modify our pricing at all. But everybody will be given the opportunity to say yes to an extension or no if one is available and if it is Jeju. Everybody will have the opportunity to say yes or no. If you say no, the price of China comes off. If you say yes, the price of the extension will adjust. So we're hoping that it stays within the same budget. That's why, Wendy, I know you're sad, but that's why we're not going to, you know, Fiji or something that is crazy expensive compared to Jeju. We're trying to put something in that could fit in the budget. If the second country is added, does the price stay the same? I think we've just addressed that, right? Okay, so if for those who have come late, the country that is not approved to travel to is China. We are not traveling to China. We are considering other options. One of the other options might be South Korea, which is Jeju, which is an island off of South Korea. And like I said, if you really squint your eyes, you might be able to think of Hawaii, Easter Island, Southeast Asia, and put it all together, and it might equal Jeju. But Google it. There's really great things to do and see on Jeju. I think, I mean, I hate to hype this up and then they come back and tell me we're not able to add Jeju, but I'm really pushing with it, so I'm hoping that we can do it. Rocco, I'm going to address your question, but I don't understand all of it. So you might have to pop on the mic and clarify. The question is, I've done some research on this already, but what vaccinations and where should we go to get them? Can some be done cheaper at Walgreens or CVS, or do all of them have to be done at a doctor's? You do not need to be vaccinated for this tour, to be clear. No vaccination is required, meaning no COVID vaccination is required. If you choose not to be vaccinated, you just need to have a PCR test ahead of time. And I'll tell you, like CVS does PCR tests still, and Walgreens and some other pharmacies, and I can give you a list of local places that do them. But we're still thinking that Japan is going to lift that vaccination requirement completely in April. And if they do that, then we don't have to worry at all about vaccinations at all. So we'll see how it goes. Wendy, Jeju. Oh, Jeju. This is where your exchange student is from. Are you kidding? Or they went there last August with her family. Okay. So we have an endorsement for Jeju because Wendy has an exchange student who absolutely loves Jeju. So I'm glad that I always like endorsements. So thank you. And I know that was a surprise for you because we were talking about what the extension might be, but that one really is, I think it fits into all the criteria, and we have the best chance of being able to swap out the China with Jeju. What does being vaccinated mean? So Jen, what vaccination means is not just one J&J, it's 2 shots minimum. That's what vaccination means to the travel world. They don't care anymore about how long it's been since your vaccination, and they don't have a requirement that it has to be X months from now. They just want it to be a 2-shot cycle. But like I said, I don't think that's going to be a requirement at all, and I think we're fine. Christy, we're looking at, the question is, will the trip still be about 14 days? We're looking at 9 and 4, which is what we had before, 9 days in Japan, 4 days in China. Oh, 4. We're still looking at trying to make this tour 9 days in Japan and 4 in Jeju. But again, I don't have approval. I was hoping to get that approval today so that I could share that on this call today. Just didn't happen. So Sean, I know what you're asking. Sean's asking about the return date. I know that we have Ariel that's going off to camp, and I have been giving them those dates. So we are trying desperately to make our dates between July 15th and August 1st. So just bear with me. We're trying. There's a lot of balls up in the air right now because of the fact that we are throwing in a new location and we're doing all this, but I will let you know. But that's one of the reasons, quite honestly, that I am putting it on as an extension. So if for some reason the extension goes into Ariel's camp time, you could just choose to do Japan only and not the extension. So just be mindful that I'm aware of your situation and other people's situations that are early July and all of that. So I'm trying to keep everybody's personal calendar in my mind as we solidify these dates and what we're doing. Killian, the refund, if you've paid in full and you get a refund, the refund will go back on the means of payment you made. So for example, if you used a credit card ending in 1234, the means of refund will go back on the credit card ending in 1234. If it was your bank account, it goes back to your bank account. So it will not be a voucher in the sense that you have to spend that money with EF. It will be money back to your original payment means. Okay, so Rocco, if you are interested in upgrading to a single room, I can deal with that, and that's no problem. I can give you a single room rate. Of course, now the single room rate is fluid because of the fact that we don't know how many days the tour is going to be, but I can talk to you about how much that is, and I can sign you up for that if you want to upgrade to a single room. I will talk about rooming. Rooming is on the slide deck a little bit later on, but I will talk about it in general. These are the things that happen. If you're 20 years old and younger, you are slotted to be in a student room, which means you are slotted to be with other people of your gender who are 20 years and under. That could be two in a room, 3 in a room, or 4 in a room, depending on how the hotel has their bedding situation. And sometimes they are 2 doubles and sometimes they're 3 singles. It just depends on the hotel. And most of the people on this tour, except for I think one, has never traveled with us before in that age group. So we'll be really particular. And honestly, I will do a special call with you so that we can make sure to go over all of the first time traveler situation and possibilities so that you're really educated before the tour. No, Rocco, there's no yellow fever vaccination necessary and no other vaccinations for any other disease states or anything that are necessary to go to Japan. So when I said vaccinations, I was referring to the COVID vaccine. Okay, does anybody else have a question? If you do, put your video on, raise your hand, wave at me, type in the chat, or take your microphone off and yell, I have a question. Okay. So I gave you 3 seconds. Now I'm going to go into, let's go, we're going, right? So I'm hoping from the conversation that we just had, I get it, that most of you need some time to think about this, and that's fine. I will tell you that until I tell you the definitive answer, like, okay, it's only Japan that's going to be offered, or it's Japan and Juju, or it's Japan and Jabip, any of those things, that is when you have the time to go back to this offer, which is cancel for voucher or cancel for cash. So what I personally would recommend at this point, if you are paying manual pay, don't put any more money in, right? Until if you're hesitant at all, don't put any more money in until we know exactly what's going on, and then you can make that final payment. Don't worry if you get their automatic emails that say your payments are due, you need to give me this information. Just let it go, because right now, until we actually have a solidified tour, all of those emails are just automatically generated. That's why you're getting the roommate emails. That's why you're getting all that. And the reason I haven't been in touch with you is because I was trying to solve this problem between the date that I said we're going to have a meeting and today. But I will not let you go without meeting a deadline. So don't worry about that, right? It's not, they're just automatically generated emails. They're not hunting you down. They just don't, they have bigger problems right now, and that's solving all of these tours that aren't going and rescheduling them, that unfortunately the travelers get affected by these auto emails, but they're no more than just automatically generated, and they don't even really know they're going out at this point to you. So if you have a question, come right to me. You don't have to call EF, because honestly, EF customer service isn't even aware of all of these nuances that are happening with our personal tour. So just contact me and I will do my best to give you as much information as I have. And certainly I can get you any information that you're asking for. Okay, so let's look about it. This is supposed to be our meeting for tonight if we were, if we had a set itinerary. So now we're a half an hour in, and I apologize for that 30 minutes, but so we're going to go over a bunch of things, and I'm not going to go over every single piece of information in detail, but what I'm going to say is I will share the slides with you afterwards. I will share an outline with you afterwards. And if you are a first-time traveler, I certainly will want to do a one-on-one with you so that you are extremely prepared for this trip, right? And that's the important thing. So we're going to talk about group travel a little bit. What's group travel? Group travel is being flexible. And this is not even the same flexible I meant a half an hour ago when I was talking about the tour and the change in the itinerary. But truly, it's about being kind, being courteous, working with others in our group, and being flexible, right? Knowing when to step up and help somebody that might need a hand, knowing when to stay positive when something isn't going that makes everybody happy, because I'll tell you, the one thing that brings down a whole boat is negativity. And it's just not allowed on my bus, quite honestly. So like, show up positive or don't show up, or just, turn that frown upside down. But essentially, it is really important to see the best in every situation. We are extremely blessed, and we are we should be extremely grateful for the opportunity that we have. So let's remember that, the reason we travel is to see other cultures, to be exposed to things that are different from us, and to embrace diversity and differences, right? We have to remember that. If we wanted the things to be as we have them at home, we should stay home. So especially going to Southeast, Asia, especially going to Asia and seeing so many things that are different from, a different kind of toilet. It might not have a seat, or it might be a hole in the ground, or you might have to pay for your toilet paper, or you might not have toilet paper. You definitely cannot flush toilet paper. All of those things are things that you need to embrace about other cultures, and understand how grateful you should be to be able to go home and flush that first piece of toilet paper. Every time I travel and I come home after I can't flush my toilet paper, that's what I'm happy about. So, and that's just a silly example of what it's all about. We taste foods that are different. If we don't like them, we appreciate them, right? We stay in hotels that are smaller than what we've ever stayed in. That's just what happens when you travel. There are different requirements and different protocols for different countries and how they operate. So it's really great for us to be able to go, especially to Asia. It's the other side of the world, literally, and it's seriously is extremely different from what we're used to. So we just have to be really open-minded and open-eyed about it. Other things to think about when you do group travel is always be on time, right? And my motto is, most of you know that are on this call, early is on time is late, and late is absolutely unacceptable. If you are late by 10 minutes, everyone in our group is now late by 10 minutes, and everyone has missed 10 minutes of that activity that we were going to. So you have to really understand that. And granted, there are things that happen. And I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about, just general, oh, I really wanted to get that scarf, and I'm going to stay in line here, even though it's a 20-minute line, and go and get it, even though it's going to hold up the whole bus. Or, I decided to chat with my friends the entire time we were eating. And now when it's time to get back on the bus, 10 of us decide to go to the bathroom at once. So there are things we do, we're mindful of that. So we stagger our bathroom breaks when we're eating dinner, because 40 of us can't go to the bathroom at the same time. So there's just things that we have to be mindful of as travelers that are traveling in a group. And, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to using I'll say this for a lot of us on the call, using our Girl Scout sense, right? But in most of us, it's just using common sense. It's be kind, be courteous, be helpful, be respectful. If all those things happen, then we'll have a great group and a great tour. But certainly, I will say, and I come across a little militant sometimes, it's not acceptable to do the opposite, right? Like everybody has a good bone in their body. We need to all find our good bones when we're on tour. So there's my lecture. It's done. So girl travel tours, why you're choosing to travel with me. If you don't know already, I'm extremely experienced in group travel business, and I am extremely organized, and I am an advocate for you all. That's what I do. I stand between you and the tour company, you and the hotel, you and the restaurant, whoever and whatever we need. You please advocate through me, and I will make sure to do my best to get anything accomplished that you need. The things that we deliver on this tour, as you probably know, and I hope you know because you've signed up for it, this is a multi-generational tour. So that means we have people of all ages. So we have educational values, opportunities, and a lot of activities that are planned from a design, like a tour design standpoint for a teenager or a 20. It's an active tour. So we have to realize that our summer tours are much more active than usual. This tour specifically has a wonderful agenda or an itinerary, and it has a lot of what I call experiential learning opportunities that are in it. And I'm really excited about sharing those because they're more than just sightseeing. And it's a great opportunity for all of us to engage with one another. And that's one of the things that I think that we bring as a group to this. So I hope that everybody will see that as part of the itinerary. Group travel, I'll go through some of these bullet points because of course I get passionate and then I go off kilter and I don't even look at the slide and I just start to talk. So group travel obviously makes things a little bit more affordable because when you're doing something for 40, it's very different than if you're doing it for 10, and therefore you save money doing it. I already talked about the active itinerary, the educational components. We try always to do a service opportunity on tour, and I will be trying to do that again. And usually we come up with something that works really well, and most of the travelers really appreciate it and remember that as part of a great part of the tour, even though it's not part of the itinerary. The tour pace is typically faster than what an adult tour would be. And that, what I mean by that is it's a packed itinerary. So from the morning when we wake up until when the bus gets back to the hotel, most of the time is planned, with the exception of maybe lunches where you might get a little bit of free time to explore, shop, roam around, but most of the day are planned activities. On our tours, if you have not read the materials in great detail, the breakfast and the dinners are included, and the lunches are free for everyone to go and explore and try those crickets or whatever else there are to eat in Japan that we would want to try on our own. I will tell you that part of the price of this tour was upgraded meals. And I hate to even say that because I don't know how great that's going to be. But for those who have traveled on an EF tour with me in the past, we can compare, because we did include upgraded meals. And I'm hoping that we see a difference in that on this tour, because some people in the past, I guess that's a normal complaint with an EF tour, is that the dinners are sometimes bland, or not bland in the taste, but I mean, just not like local cuisine, in the sense that you'd go home going, oh my God, the food was awesome. And that's why they do give you lunch on your own, so that you can experience lunch and meals and food from the local culture. But usually EF Tours is known to take the safe route for dinners. And avid travelers and foodies like myself kind of are a little bit sad with that, because I'd rather try something that I don't necessarily love, but's local and is interesting, other than, potentially something that is more common to us, like maybe chicken and rice or something of that nature. So we'll see how that works out, but hoping that works out well for us. So a typical day, action-packed. What to expect on the bus. The buses are big means of travel. Obviously, we have 40 people. We're going to be traveling by bus everywhere we go. There won't be a lot of space on the bus because the buses in Asia are smaller. So we will be two to a seat. Pretty much all the seats will be taken up. If there are issues with who sits where on a bus, I am very flexible in, moving people around, or we could, I think our last tour we did it where all the kids or people, I won't even say kids, but all the people that wanted to be in the back always stayed in the back, and then the people in the front rotated. It really doesn't matter to me. It's because I always sit in the front with the tour director. But if it does matter to adults or other people who want to have time in the front or move around and don't want to jockey for position every day, we can come up with a system that works for everybody. So I just want you to know that all you have to do is tell me, right? If you feel as though that's an issue, we'll come up with a system and we'll be fair. That's all we can do. On the ground, what to expect. I think we already talked about this, but we're going to, I guess I'll beat a dead horse a little bit. We are going to hit the ground running. We will meet our tour director. So a tour director, I talk about this a little bit later, but a tour director is somebody who manages our tour logistics from start to finish. The minute we get into Tokyo, they will be waiting for us at the airport, and they will manage us until we then take off from wherever we take off from. But essentially, they're with us all along the way. As you can see from the past travelers, I can see Abby's face, and I know that she just loved our last tour director that we were with last summer. And you really do make you do find a great rapport with these folks, and they become your friends by the time we're done. And it is, you hate to see them go, and they're really wonderful people, and they take care of us so very well. And they're a wealth of knowledge. So it's really great to have them, and it's actually priceless to have them as part of our tour. So this part of take care of your belongings and be attentive to surroundings, that's in every city that you travel to, and Tokyo is no different. It is imperative that you be mindful. We kid that it's like a duckling tour where I'm in the front and everybody's just following along and they don't know where they're going or what they're doing and whatever. But that's more of a joke than anything, because we do want people to be mindful. When you step into a street, we want you to be mindful of the traffic lights. When you carry your bag or your backpack, we want you to be mindful. When you have your phone out, you don't put it in your back pocket, you put it in your bag, or whatever those things are. And we'll go over that to nauseam before we go in our departure meeting. But this is just sort of like a very general overview of what to expect as we get closer to the tour. Obviously, you want to make sure you're wearing comfortable walking shoes. On my tours, I ask people always to wear it. You can wear sandals, but covered toe sandals. So they could be Keens or Merrells or anything like that. But covered toes is important when you're dealing with 40 people. The last thing you want is somebody's, big toe to be compromised, and then we have a medical emergency to have to deal with. So I ask that if you do bring flip-flops, you keep them in the hotel, and you're just using them for, like, if we have a pool or to hang out in the hotel or something like that. So I'm going to get to this, but the one I'm stuck on right now, the bullet point at the end is, while traveling, communication may be difficult due to connectivity. Generally, no news is good news. We have a Facebook group that we use. It's girltraveltours.com or Girl Travel Tours on Facebook. And it's a group, it's a private group. You have to be approved. If you're not in it, you should be in it. If you are in it, your family should be in it, because we will post constantly where we are, what we're doing, what we're experiencing, and all the people at home that care about you and want to see your journey, they will feel very connected to you and very connected to your trip if they follow along. Hotels, I spoke about this a little bit, but generally speaking, the hotel rooms are smaller than what we're used to in the United States. Most hotels will not, well, they say most hotels will not have air conditioning or elevators. That's not necessarily the case in Japan. Japan is a pretty modernized region, and you will have the conveniences, maybe not elevators in all places, but definitely you'll have some air conditioning. I will say that nowhere in the world, except for the US, as I've seen it, uses air conditioning at the level that we do. Most places use air conditioning as a equalizer. They kind of take it down a couple notches, but not to the freezing point where Americans are used to with air conditioning. So, just be mindful of that. Wi-Fi will not always be available. I can attest to that. Sometimes it's only available in like a 4-foot corner of the lobby or something like that. So you just have to let go of your technology. And quite honestly, I had to let go of my technology last week when I was in Cuba because we had no connectivity, and it was rather hard for me the first day, but very freeing after the first day. So so it was great. Killian, do you have a question that needs to be asked now, or can you put it in the chat for after?
I was just going to ask, are you going to send us the recording after, because I have to run at 8:30?
Yes, I will send you the recording, and I'll send you a recap.
Thank you so much.
Okay, take care when you leave. Okay, so let's keep going. Meals. I just dealt with this a little bit, but essentially breakfasts are included. Typically, they are a cold breakfast, but sometimes you get a hotel that's willing to give you something hot as well. But an EF tour, as opposed to a go-ahead tour, this is a multi-age group tour. So an EF tour typically is a continental breakfast. Lunch is on your own and dinner is included. Okay, as we spoke of, dinner is a mix of local cuisine and fan favorites, as it were. The portion size is always smaller. So please know, if you are a growing teenager, a 20-something, or somebody who needs a lot of food to get by, you're going to have to buy those snacks as you go. You're going to have to bring meal bars or buy them on tour, and just really make sure that you have things in your backpack to keep you going, because that is always a problem on tour. Generally speaking, Americans eat much more than anywhere else in the world. So we'll just have to be mindful of that and make sure that you're prepared. Water is included in the meals, but not sodas. So please know that, like at dinner, if you are used to drinking soda, you will have to buy that, and that would be an option. Adults on tour, you are welcome to have one glass of wine with dinner, but you're buying it on your own. It's not included. This, because it's a multi-age group tour, we're not there to set ourselves on fire. We're really just there to enjoy the experience, and also enjoy your dinner with a glass of wine or something. But certainly we're not, the objective is not to get lit. Our group, what does this look like? Our group is right now 41 total travelers. We have 9 people that are in the age group of 13 to 20. That's the student age. That means those are the people who will be rooming with one another in some way or another, right? If you are a boy and you are on tour, and your age group is that you would never be put with girls. If you're a girl, you never be put with boys. So just know that. There are 8 20-somethings. And when I say 20-somethings, they're 20 to 29, 28. Just to give you an idea of your peer group and who's there in your peer group. We have a bunch of people that are college age and post-college age, not a bunch, but 8 that are college age and post-college age, just to give you an idea. And then there's 24 of us. We are the majority, the 29 and over crowd. So there's 24 of us that are in the older adult range, and then you see how it breaks down. And I just did this slide because I think people think about that, like, oh, who else will be there in my age group? And certainly I could share all the names and all the people with you as we move forward. Especially when we get close, I'll make a WhatsApp group, and the WhatsApp group will be there for our communication. We already have a Facebook group. If you haven't joined it, there's a private Japan Facebook group. And as I get more information, I'll be sharing that with the Facebook group, with the WhatsApp group after I make it, and with via email, because I know some people just don't check their emails very regularly because they get so much junk. So I try to put it out there in many different ways so that you do get the information. We already talked about our tour director and how he or she will be a part of the tour. My role, I've already talked about that. But then we have this thing called patrols. So what I do with 41 people is actually 40 because I'm the one. I break them down into patrols, which are smaller groups. And those groups usually, 40 divided by 7 or 6, we could have 6 or 7 groups of 6 or 7. We have a patrol leader for each of those groups. The patrol leader will be the manager of that group, and all they're doing really is making sure their group shows up on time, that they're all accounted for, and that we're ready to rock and roll. So I will say on this call, if you are interested in being a patrol leader, and that would be anybody in the 20s or lower. I don't actually encourage adults to be our patrol leaders because I think the younger people do a better job of it. And I think most people respond to them better than they do to adults. Adults seem to think that there's exceptions to the rules. And I think when you're still in college or that age, you still are mindful of the rules. So in my multi-age tours, I've always found it better that the younger generation are the patrol leaders. So if you want to be a patrol leader, please let me know. Let me know why you think you'd be a great patrol leader, and then we can consider it. Anybody who is a patrol leader will be compensated by probably a free excursion or something of that nature to thank you for the role that you take on. And I can tell you, Abby, were you a patrol leader?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, so from a patrol leader standpoint, it's a serious job, right? Sometimes it's fun, sometimes it's not so fun, but you certainly are always on the ball, right?
Yeah, keeping track of, I think I had like 7 or 8 people and trying to get them out the door in
Yep.
time in the mornings. Very fun knocking on hotel doors.
Yeah, so it's definitely something that they do not take lightly, and I appreciate that. And it really does keep us on time and keep us moving. And it also does help from my perspective because, when you have solos on your tour or when you have people that they're just all accounted for. And instead of on a bus where you're on a field trip and you see the teacher going 1, 13, 14, 15, 16, wait, who's missing? Wait, what number was I on? This way, all I have to do is say 0 and my patrol leaders go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're gone and we leave. And it literally takes less than 2 seconds to know that everybody's accounted for and on the bus. So we'll continue to use that strategy to keep track of our people. Please let me know if you want to be a patrol leader. Rooming, we talked about this already. I don't think I need to get into it more, but I will hit on Rocco's point. If you are interested in a single, if you are a 20 or younger and interested in rooming with your parent or son or one other person and not in a family room or the kid rooms, let me know, because we need that information in the next 2 weeks to make sure that we have that allocated for the rooming. So just let me know that. If you have questions on that, like for example, I don't know this offhand, but I'm just going to make it up. Say we have Killian, Rocco, and one other guy. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just going to say that. Say we have 3 single guys, and obviously that's everybody's paying for a double. And we have 3 single guys. What I would typically do is in one city, I would give Killian a single room. In the next city, I would give Rocco a single room. And in the next city, I would give guy number 3 a single room. So we, instead of giving one person the benefit of a free single, we would share the wealth. Does that make sense? Same for women. If we have an odd number of women that are just paired, that didn't ask for roommates, but just are paired with anybody, we would work it the same way. So I try to be fair with the odd man out and not just give them an upgrade, but really split the upgrade between everybody. So, so you can upgrade for a price and you're guaranteed a single, but if you choose not to upgrade for a price and you're just dealt the cards, then I try to make that fair across the board. Communication. Before you depart, now this is Asia, so this is a whole different ball game. Before you depart, you need to call your service provider, your wireless service provider, and find out what their rules are for Japan and maybe South Korea. If we're doing South Korea, really find that out. In my plan, I just checked, and actually, if you have a 5G, you can use the international pass $10 a day. But if you don't have 5G, you would need to either have a SIM card or you would just use Wi-Fi. If you're using a SIM card in a phone, your phone has to be unlocked. And I don't mean unlocked like putting in your passcode unlocked. I mean what they call breaking the phone, which is actually untying it to the network that you pay as a service. Your network provider can do that for you. So say I'm AT&T. AT&T can unlock this phone so that I could put a different SIM card in it. But in my case, I can't do that because my phone is insured and I am leasing it, meaning every month part of my fee is going to the phone, and it's under the conditions that I can't have an unlocked phone under those conditions. So you should just find that out for yourself. Whatever your phone is, whatever your plan is, just call them up, figure out what your connectivity would be in Japan. If you do not care about connectivity, like you don't need a cellular plan, you can use Wi-Fi only, and that's fine. You could use Wi-Fi only. However, when you're on free time or away from the group in the sense of you're not in an organized activity, somebody in your group has to have a cellular plan so that they are reachable. And I ask if you are there alone, if you're there without a mom, a dad, a brother, an aunt, an uncle, you need to have a cellular plan. You need to solve that problem, because I don't want to lose anybody that's not connected to somebody else that I know absolutely would be connected via, a cellular plan. We could talk about that offline, but just so you know, those are sort of my guidelines. WhatsApp I use constantly when I'm abroad, and I'll use it for our group. The first thing I'll do is make a WhatsApp group with everybody here. The reason I use WhatsApp is because not everybody has an Apple, and you can't use group text messaging across Android and Apple and all the other platforms, except for WhatsApp. So WhatsApp works extremely well. I'll use that to communicate every day on tour. Every day we'll put the next day's agenda up and you'll get it. Every day, if there is a change in schedule, you'll get it. But I also use it for the months leading up to tour, just to notify you and I know that you get it quicker. It's it's a text message as opposed to an email, and it's just another way for me to hit you guys. So I'll be making that in the next coming months, and we'll be using that as a mode of transportation, mode of communication. So if you don't have it downloaded, please download it. That way we will all be prepared and ready. So when I go and look for you on WhatsApp, you'll be there. And I'll also provide you a link to the group to make it easy for you to join. Facebook Messenger works really well. And so does FaceTime when you have connectivity. I already talked about our Facebook group. Please have your friends and family join so that they can follow us each day. We talked about expectations a little bit, and I will talk about these more when we have our departure meeting. But essentially, the expectations, I think we said kind, courteous, and just being respectful, and everything else falls into place, right? If you're mindful of the protocols and you're mindful of the people around you and you keep a positive attitude, everything is dandy. So I'll just keep reiterating that. This is probably the biggest conversation piece in any trip, which is packing. What do we pack? How do we pack it? How do you ever fit all that in a carry-on? You're going for so many days. It's possible, people. Every time I travel, whether it's 8 days or 21 days, I pack in a carry-on only. And I've always made it back I've always made it over and back. Now, am I going to tell you that it won't be gate checked? Sometimes it gets gate checked. I'm sorry about that. But at least we know we're starting out with a good, a good means of keeping our luggage small. And I don't even say that we do carry on for airplane rules, even though I do. There's much less chance of losing your luggage when you're packing in a carry-on. But it's mainly another big reason is because of the bus space, and also because of you carrying that luggage around in the hotels. If a hotel is 3 flights up and you're lugging that luggage up, we don't have porters on this tour because it's a multi-generational tour. So we are our porters. We take our luggage into our rooms and out of our rooms. So that's one of the things that we absolutely want to be mindful of, and we want to pack lightly. We're going to a hot destination. We don't need a lot of clothes. They're very small clothes when they're hot. They're, very small wicking kind of tops and shorts and things. So it packs very well. Generally speaking, I encourage people to have a roller wheeled, and I like the, ones with wheels on all corners. And if you're looking for new luggage, you want to buy one that has 2 wheels on every corner, because they're sturdier than the ones that only have 1 wheel on every corner. And then when you lift up your little handle, a lot of times you have a great backpack that slides right on the handle. You're all hands free, and you're just moving about the airports and the hotels and the streets very easily as we move that luggage around. A backpack on the plane is key for your extra things and what you need. And then I always say bring a day pack. And what I mean by a day pack sometimes is just like a cinch bag. Just fold up a little cinch bag, put it in there, and that could be a day pack that you take your water bottle or something that you need for the day. You don't necessarily need to bring a big backpack every day, but if you choose to, that's on you, that's fine. I also always say pack a nylon duffel, a really, really thin nylon duffel at the bottom of your suitcase. So when you do start shopping for your souvenirs, you have a way to pack for them to come home. Generally, my rule, if I were a shopper, I would put my dirty clothes in the duffel, my good souvenirs that I just bought in my hard case. I would check the hard case coming home. I would have the duffel as a carry-on, and you're all good. Protected souvenirs, an extra bag for your excess stuff. Electronics, most people just take a phone and they take a what do you call it? A universal adapter for your plugs, right? So universal adapter. I'm going to get into the nitty gritty. I'm not going to read these off because I put these in knowing that I was going to send you these slides. But essentially, passport, visas if we need them. We don't need a visa because we're not going to China. Copy of the itinerary, copy of the flights. I will give everybody a little copy of all of the hotels, and on the back, a copy of the conversion of the money system that we're using, whether it's just Japanese money or if it's South Korean money, I don't know yet, but I'll give you a little cheat sheet to put in your money belt. If you are bringing any prescription medicines, you'll want to have either a copy of the original prescription on your phone and also print it out, and or a copy of the original bottle with all the prescription information. One thing about passports, and I say vaccine cards too, but 3 color copies of your passport. 1 goes in your luggage, 1 goes in your money belt, and 1 stays home with somebody that you could call if you need it. Okay, 3 color copies. I also, if you have not already, you'll need to send me a picture of your passport as well. I will be haunting you for that if you haven't done that, but you'll want to do that as well, because I need that information ahead of time so that when we get to hotels, or I can prep the tour director with it, so that as much as we can do ahead of time is done, so that we don't have to, although every time we check into a hotel, they seem to want to ask for it again, but I try to prepare so that it's done ahead of time. Some people accept it, some people don't. The money, so I always change a little bit of money before I go, just so we can hit the ground running and you're not looking for an ATM right off the bat. But I will say that Japan is becoming more, thanks to COVID, every I guess every thorn has a rose, right? Like, because of the pandemic, so many countries have gone to contactless payments now. So you can use your phone, Apple Pay, Google Pay, whatever. In many cases, you can use that. You can use credit cards when that's not acceptable. And then in some cases, you're going to need cash. But it is turning away from cash more and more. And most countries are turning away from cash more and more, which is great because of the pandemic. So please know that if you do have a phone that's set up with Apple Pay, you'll want to have that set up. If not, you'll want to have a travel credit card. And when I say travel credit card, I mean a card that does not have travel conversion fees. And there's also 2 that I know of, maybe 3 that don't have an annual fee. So I know the Bank of America travel card is a great one. They don't charge an annual fee, and they don't, there you go. And they don't charge a conversion fee. So it's like having it for free. Just put it in your wallet and use it for travel. It's a great travel card. I'll add this. It's not in here, but American Express, keep it home. Discover, keep it home with it. Some places do take Discover, but really it's Visa and MasterCard. So if you're going to travel, find a Visa or a MasterCard that's a travel card, use that. Also, any kind of like for the younger people on the call, like don't bring any kind of like visas that are gift cards. You know what I mean by that? Like some people get gift cards that are visas, or grandma might have given you one that says, oh, go treat yourself on tour. Don't bring that with you, because no one accepts them. They're not regular visas. They don't work in the same way. You need to bring a real bank Visa or MasterCard with you. Okay, more packing stuff. So this is a general list. Some of the things I love on this list, some of the things not so much, I don't necessarily need, but I think it's important for you to see the whole list, and then you can decide for yourself what you want to bring. If I was a woman, which I am, I would pack a little sundress too, because it's going to be warm, it's hot and humid. Sometimes it's easier to wear a light summer dress than it is to wear shorts and t-shirts, but I would certainly put the shorts and t-shirts in my repertoire, not necessarily cotton t-shirts, but wicking t-shirts. Generally speaking, we say if you're going to wear tank tops, they should be wide tank tops, not spaghetti straps. And my whole thing is like, I don't want to see, what do I say? Butts, bellies, and boobs. Yeah. I don't want to see butts, bellies, and boobs. Right. Like, and I'm really hoping that I'm not speaking to the over the 40 crowd. I really don't want to see butts, bellies, and boobs from that crowd. But for the younger girls, like just be mindful of what you're wearing and make sure that you're covering. I don't want, let's just represent ourselves well, right? Like let's represent the USA and Girl Travel Tours and yourself well, and not dress in things that we would go to a nightclub in. Pants and jeans, up to you. I didn't make that list. I don't know who would want to take jeans to a trip to Japan in the summer, but certainly, if you wear a pair of pants on the plane, you'll have a pair of pants in your luggage. But everything else seems to be pretty smart. Long sleeve shirts, I would say only because of sun, like to protect yourself from sun. The temperatures are different where we're going. Some places are hot and humid, some places are hot and dry, some places are 85. So it just depends, but mostly we will be seeing heat. The one thing that's not on this list that I highly recommend are those I know I have one in my office, but they're the things you wear around your neck that are like towels. They're like very thin wicking towels, and what are they called?
Are they like the blue cooling towels?
The cooling towels, exactly. So if you have a cooling towel, pack it. If you don't, you might think about purchasing one, but anything to keep your body temperature low. I also highly recommend the drip drops or the liquid IVs or any of those things to put in your water bottle every day. It keeps you hydrated, it keeps you energized, and I believe it keeps your immune system going too, just because I think the more you're hydrated, the more healthy you are. So I would highly recommend you looking into getting them as well. Okay, enough of the packing. If you need personal packing instructions, contact me. I'd be happy to share. Transportation to and from the airport. This is specifically, and what happens when we get there. Essentially, anybody from the Yardley, Trenton, Levittown, Fairless Hills area, Philadelphia, if you want to go to the airport with me, I will make sure that we have a shuttle that gets us to the airport. If you are close to the airport, we will meet at the gate, or we'll meet at the ticket counter, whatever we determine is best for our group, probably the ticket counter, because we're probably all going to be ticketed together. So we'll meet at the ticket counter. And then anybody who's coming from all the other parts of North America, we will meet in Tokyo. and you will be greeted either by our personal tour director or an EF staff. And then once everybody is met, they will take us to probably the hotel or a universal location, and we will meet up with each other there. Okay, that's how it goes. Sorry, can't answer any of these. We don't have flight information. We don't even have departure dates, but now that we are getting closer to knowing what's going on with the tour, we'll have more information about that coming up shortly. The baggage allowances, the airline tickets that we will have will include a check bag, although I highly discourage using a check bag for all the reasons that we just discussed, but it does include one. So no, on the way back, if you expand your luggage and you're going to check on the way back, it's included. It's fine. I will say we have one internal flight in Japan, and we may have other internal flights depending on where and if we go for an extension. Those rules are different. So our luggage that we're using as check bags going out of the US might need to be checked on an internal flight. So just know that it's not like, oh, Mrs. Walsh told me I wasn't going to be able to do that, or Mara told me I'm not going to be able to do that. We don't even know what airlines we're flying yet. So until we know that, I won't be able to give you that accurate information because every airline is different. So when you ask me what size luggage we should use, well, normally a 21 to 22 inch carry-on works fine, but that depends on what airline we're taking. Seat assignments are random. When you're doing group travel, they assign our seats for us, meaning the agency assigns the seats. So as soon as they're put out, the fortunate ones of us that are not traveling all from the same airport, you guys can go into the airline when it's booked and use your record locator number and change your seats. Sometimes you have to pay to change a seat, meaning if you want an aisle or a window, there might be a charge associated with that. That's your prerogative if you want to change them. If you want to take the seat that was assigned, you don't have to pay, but if you want to change it to a better location or something of that nature, you can do that. And just know that the flights are given to us randomly, meaning I don't have any say over those flights. It's what the group flight department gets for us, and they're contracted flights, which from my experience since the pandemic, I have gotten lots of layovers. I have gotten not a lot of direct flights, and I just want to prepare you all for that, because chances are we will have stopovers and we will not have direct flights. And that's just how that's what travel has become since the pandemic. It's just, it is not the same beast that it used to be. So just know that we should prepare for, being flexible and appreciating that we're going at this point. I think most people on this call know, but I'll just reiterate, Japan just opened its doors. We are the first summer travelers to go to Japan since 2019. So that means every summer tour that's been scheduled since 2020 is probably all going this summer, right? So that means we're going to see a lot of travelers in Japan. And that's another reason to be mindful of our being kind and flexible, because there's going to be a lot of travelers in Japan this summer. And if last year was any example of what we're going to find in Japan this year, they're not going to be ready for us. Now, hopefully, because we're in July, they will have had a few months to iron it all out. But chances are their supply chain's not back up to puff, and their workforce isn't 100%. They're training new people. There's a lot of new people on the ground. And that's just what we found in the last year or so with travel since the pandemic. So I expect it to be the same in Japan. So we really just have to be mindful, respectful, and kind, because these people are going to be hit like a ton of bricks this summer, and they have not been doing this for the last 3 years. Our itinerary, well, let's be flexible. We don't know what our itinerary is. We do know the Japan part is not going to change. That itinerary is good, with the exception of, slight modifications, because one, activity might not be available on Tuesday and it's available on Wednesday, and they move things around like that. But other than that, Japan is pretty much set the way that it is. It's just the rest of the itinerary that we're just not sure of. So as soon as I know, I will let you know, and we will make sure that everybody gets a hold of that. We've already talked about the tour director. I don't need to go into that anymore. But spending money, we talked about this a little bit in terms of where you get the money, what you should prepare to bring. You know, this is always hard. People say, well, how much money should I bring? Everybody's idea of what they spend is different. So I'll tell you, if you plan for $20 a day for lunches, and maybe $15 a day for snacks, and then maybe another $15 a day for souvenirs or something. So what did I just say? That's $50 or so. If you said $60 a day for bare essentials, and then you had a credit card backing you up or something of that nature, most teens can get by on that. But you know, any of you guys that are on the phone that have done this before and are teenagers, you tell me. I think so many of you spend so much money in snacks that that's really what blows the budget out of the water, is getting those snacks so that you can get from one meal to the next and get through the night. So be mindful of that. If you are a big eater or need to eat constantly, just prepare for that and budget for that. Throw an extra $20 in, do whatever you need to do to make yourself comfortable. I don't want you to have to sacrifice your souvenir money or your snack money for souvenir money and then not eat because you buy souvenirs. So just be mindful of the budget. And if you need to speak to me specifically about the budget, you know, let me know, and we can go over that when we go over some other things for the first time travelers. Tipping, generally speaking, all tips are covered by Girl Travel Tours, in the sense that you are responsible of as a traveler to tip the tour director, the bus driver, and the local guides. But because I'm taking such a large group, I'm able to use the benefits that we get from taking a large group and put that back into your pocketbook. So what I'd like to do is not put it in your pocketbook necessarily, but put it back in the tour. And we pay, Girl Travel Tours will cover all the tips with that money. So you won't have to worry about this part of it. This part is covered. Don't worry about budgeting an extra $6 per day, or, I mean, it ends up being like $12 a day more. So you don't have to worry about that part of it. That's covered. But if you go to a restaurant for lunchtime, please know that you are the one that's going to tip that, you know, tip that waitress. So you'll have to be prepared for that. Passports we talked about, right? We talked about the copies of the passports. This is, I didn't look actually before this call, and I should have. I believe everybody has insurance. If you don't, you should. And I will look at that after this call and make sure that everybody is covered. But I'll let you know if you're not, and we'll resolve that. But essentially, everybody should be covered with travel protection insurance. And then, you know, I'll just reiterate why I choose EF as a travel partner. They have offices all over the world, and you can't even really see them, but all these tiny little blue guys, these little points everywhere, those are EF offices. And I can tell you that in the last 2 years, I have used the emergency team more times than I want to report, and they have come through with stellar services. And that's one of the reasons why I use EF Tours, is I can count on them to support us and be there for us no matter what during a trip. And I feel 100% comfortable traveling under their company. And I hope you will see that very quickly when you travel as well. This is a silly slide that just tells you what you're going to have on hand, which is essentially EF sends you a backpack. They send you an emergency wristband, which we all wear our wristbands, and those wristbands would have either the tour director's phone number, my phone number, or both, just so you have a way. And then the emergency number is written in there as well. And I'll give you a card, like I said, that has all the hotels on it, so that God forbid you found yourself in the middle of the city, you could literally point and say, take me there, because you don't speak the language. But these are all good things to have in your little repertoire of tools to get by. And then here we go. Essentially, who's ready to see the world and questions. We do have additional questions in the Q&A. I'll read them quickly, and then we can go forward with the questions that you all might have, and you can jump on and ask them personally. Abby asked a question about food allergies. When you signed up for the tour, you should have allocated your food allergies, but I'm going to ask again for food allergies from people. So one of the things I always do is ask about t-shirt sizes. So I'll send an email out for t-shirt sizes, food allergies, and any other thing that you think I should know about you. It'll be a tiny little form, but it'll give me an understanding for what I need to be aware of. Let's see, I'm going to start at the top of these questions. Oh, Sean, will it be time to pick up a mobile cellular data transponder when we land? I read this, it's recommended to reserve. So I'll tell you that it's hard to do anything with a group. We could talk about it offline because you're probably more of a techno than I am, obviously, from your background. But my understanding is that sometimes you can order a SIM to be picked up at the airport or something of that nature. It's great if it works. We just did this in Cuba and we had 4 people and it turned into almost more than an hour because of the frustrations. And then 2 of us ended up bailing because we didn't want to hold up the tour anymore. So we should talk about that and see if there's any other way to get you set up so that you're not holding up the group with that. So yeah, so Wendy, who learned this firsthand last year, that her luggage got gate checked on her. She said maybe have 2 or 3 changes of clothing in your backpack so that when or if your bag doesn't show up at the location it needs to, you at least have something to go. And probably it would be more, not as much 2 or 3 changes of clothes, but maybe a few things of underwear, because that's what seems to be missed more times than not. Are 20-somethings considered adults? From an EF perspective, if you are 20 or younger, you are considered to be a student. So you room in the student runs. If you are 21 or older, you are considered an adult. You were upcharged on your tour as an adult, and then you are being roomed with adults. Prazak, you are on this tour. What are you? Let's see. How old will you be on tour?
I'll be 20.
20, so you're a student. But I mean, the benefit of that is you're a student, so you paid less. But if you want to be treated as an adult and be in the adult rooming situation, then you have to upgrade and pay more. You can go on either end if you choose. Like if you wanted to room with one other person, your friend, and you guys wanted to room together, you need to upgrade to do that. Otherwise, you're student rooming.
Okay.
Okay, CPAP machines. We always have CPAPs. It's not a problem. You generally have to bring it on the plane. You can call the airline when we know what the airline is ahead of time. Let them know you're traveling with a CPAP. Ask them what their requirements are. In some cases, we've been able to find distilled water with no problem, and it's absolutely fine. In other cases, you have to use bottled water and just really clean your CPAP machine afterwards. You have to be a little flexible. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I have to believe in Tokyo, you're not going to have a hard time finding distilled water, but I might be wrong. You might have to use bottled water. But that's normal with CPAPs. And that's what people generally do. Oh, so Sandy asked a question, where do we get yen? Most banks that you bank at you'll be able to order yen if you'd like from the bank, but you can also go to a AAA and order it. Since COVID, I have found that since the pandemic, I hate saying since COVID, but it is true. Everything's changed since the pandemic. A lot of places that used to keep foreign currency on hand stopped doing it because they didn't have it. They weren't using it, and it was just wasted, it was wasted money for them. So they stopped doing it, and now they have to order it. I use Wells Fargo and Yardley, and I used to go over there and get my money freely, and now I have to order it. It only takes a day or two to come in, so it's not that big of a deal. And just order it and it'll come in for you, and that'll be fine. You might want to look at the exchange rates between AAA and the bank and see what might be better for you. But I find my bank does a fine job, and they know me well. They give me, you can even tell them what denominations you want, and they're really good about ordering what you want. Okay, so somebody asked, can we easily exchange US dollars? Do not bring US dollars to exchange for Japanese money there, right? US dollars it's the worst exchange you get is when you exchange money for money. The best is bringing yen. The second best is taking it out of a bank ATM when you're on the ground. The third is exchanging dollars for yen, because when you exchange dollars for yen, you have to go to one of those currency converter scam trucks, and they're not really scams, but they take full advantage of you with all their fees. And you just want to be mindful of those fees that happen, especially even when you're using ATMs abroad. You have to really pick and choose what you're doing and where you're using it, because a lot of them have hidden fees in them. You want to use a bank ATM whenever possible, so that you're getting just a clean rate of exchange rather than any big fees on top. Most of them have small fees, like our banks. If I went to TD Bank instead of Wells Fargo, and I'm a Wells Fargo customer, they're going to tack on a $3 or a $4 charge. That's fine, but I'm talking about hefty fees. Bella says that TD Bank keeps it on hand still. So Bella, they have yen on hand. That's good to know. Usually banks want you to be a bank customer in order to exchange money there, just from my experience. So you might want to check that as well. That's all the questions in the chat. If you'd like to take yourself off of mic and open your video up and ask me a question, or ask anybody a question, that would be the next course of action. So anybody out there have any questions? Come on, bring it to me. I try to address every question that was asked via email, and also that was addressed on the chat. But how's it, can I take a pulse? It's really hard because everybody's on mute and I can't see most of your faces. How do we feel about Japan? How do we feel about the fact that China's off the table? How are we feeling about the trip? Are we okay to just go to Japan if that's the case? Or, are we feeling like yes, I like thumbs up work for me. Are we excited if we can add Jeju? Is that something people are interested in?
Yes.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so at least my intuition is right, I think, and in most cases that we are okay with Japan, but if we can add Jeju, even better, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. All right. Well, I'm sorry to take so much time. It went about an hour and 30 minutes, but I know the first 30 minutes had to be done. If anybody came on late and you're still unsure of what just happened, because I dealt with everything up front, please feel free to stay on, and I will stay on for any questions as well. And then any new travelers, if we could touch base one-on-one, I would like to have calls with you individually so that you feel ultra prepared and comfortable with the adventure we're about to embark on. So I'm here if you want to hang out and ask a question. Otherwise, thank you for your time. Bella, you got a haircut. You look so cute.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, you look like a little girl again.
I know, that's what my mom said. She said it
do,
made
you
me
look so
look so
cute.
much younger.
Yes.
Miss Walsh, am I rooming with my mom on tour, or am I rooming with the girls?
Oh, well, that's it. Where's your mom? Jillian, come on. I don't know. You can room with your mom, but you also have a third person, correct?
Binks? Oh, sorry, you don't know who Binks is. Jordan? Yeah.
No, not
we
Binks.
can't.
Not
Oh,
Binks.
Kevin.
Yes.
Is he gonna room with us? I don't care either way.
You guys have to talk this out.
Oh.
My somebody told me, one of the adults in your family told me that he was rooming with the adult, but I would say you have to speak with the adult that you live with and find out if that's the case. You have about 2 weeks to figure that out. Okay.
Okay,
Rooming needs to be
All right.
figured out in 2 weeks.
I'll talk to her. I'll go down.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Anybody
Other than
else?
that,
Any
no-
questions?
I
Sandy?
I was just want to say, I assume it comes later, the backpack from EF. If we all get that, is it preferable for all of us to use that so that when we're all walking around together, we can
No,
identify?
Not at all. No,
Oh.
in fact, I mean, if you have a backpack you like, I highly recommend you using the backpack you like. I would be happy to donate the EF backpack with stuff in it to foster care or any of those places that use,
Good to
you know, that use them. So you could just tell me, you know, you don't need the backpack or whatever. And I find good homes for them. But they do it as a, you know, they do it for that reason, I guess, to hype people up, but to also give them something as a gift. But you do not need to use it at all.
Okay, so I'll decide.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Every year there's a different style backpack. I have not seen this year's style. So some years they're good, some years, you know, some years they're great, like where the zippers and everything are, and other years they're not as good, but it's a, you know, it's an individual preference.
Okay.
Is it usable if, I mean, Peyton, who has never traveled before, I don't know if she'll travel internationally again after this. Is it okay for her to
Absolutely.
use that? Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a fine backpack. And I've got some too. If, you know, if last year's model is better than this year's model, I've got some of those as well, but yeah, no, perfectly fine.
I just want to make sure she has what she needs without breaking the bank, because I don't know if
Yep.
it'll ever get used.
Exactly.
Again, so-
No, absolutely. You can use the backpack they give you. You know, if depending on what she has in terms of luggage or whatever, I can help you out with that as well. It really, I
My
can help
mom bought
you.
her luggage for Christmas, so I
Okay.
think we're okay. Like, it's wheeled, and
Yeah.
I think we got correct luggage. I hope. But I can, you know.
Yeah, just tell me what the measurements are and I'll let you know. But essentially, if you're no more than 22, 14.9 or something of that nature, you should be fine.
Okay, yeah, it's a set of 3, so I think the
Oh, the
middle one,
smallest.
yeah,
You're going for the smallest one if it's a set of
the
3.
smallest one. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. And it can be done, believe me, it can be done.
I have a weird question with
Mhm.
packing.
Yeah.
Can individual outfits be put in Ziploc bags? Is
Yes,
that okay?
I actually don't. A lot of people from Girl Scouts do that because they're used to camp and they use, you know, they did their camp outfits that way. I bring Ziploc bags too. I use them as compression bags, but because you are re-wearing clothes other than underwear, and sometimes you're washing out things in the sink or whatever, I don't necessarily put each day in there, because you're not bringing, you know, you're not bringing 12 shorts, 12 shirts, 12 this. There's no way in the world you're going to be bringing one outfit a day. But if you compartmentalize them, like maybe all your shirts go in one and all your this go in one, usually your socks and your underwear are going in shoes, or, you know, finding the little holes in your luggage and filling up those. So it's not, you're not going to fit as much in a bag if you try to do Ziploc bags for outfits.
Okay.
And I even personally don't use packing cubes when I go for an extended period of time, because the packing cubes leave too much airspace. If I'm
Okay.
going for a weekend or 5 days or 6 days, packing cubes are fine. But if I'm going for an extended period of time, I find that they don't use the luggage space as much. I will tell you some tricks that I use. After something is, like, obviously underwear is only used once, I fold it inside out and put it in a Ziploc bag. So it's, you know, the smelly things go in the Ziploc bag. I fold them inside out so I never wear them again. But if I fold something right side out, it means, oh, it has some more life left to it. I keep it in the life pile. I also always use either like a dryer sheet, or I actually have these little balls that somebody gave me after the Christmas market tour that smell really good. And I just keep them in my luggage to keep things smelling fresh, especially
Okay.
teenagers. Like the more fresh scents you can put in there, whether that's a car freshener or a dryer sheet or whatever, just keep stuff in there to keep a good smelling suitcase, because after several days, you know what a kid's room smells like after several days. The luggage is even worse. So
Can you
those
put,
tricks
like,
really
some
work
dryer
well.
sheets? Can we put like some extra dryer sheets like in a Ziploc so that she can keep?
Absolutely. Keep them
Okay.
fresh. Yep. Those are all
Okay.
good tips. And the Ziploc bags are great because they really do compartmentalize like dirty clothes from not dirty clothes, and you could really pack them. So I keep like quart size, gallon size, and then I'll keep one really big one, because by the end of the trip, almost everything is in the really big one, and it's just sealed off. And
Yeah, Peyton just asked, like, to help her with packing, from me, like with her ADHD, the fewer choices, like,
Yeah.
like grab and go that she has, the easier it will
Yeah.
be for her brain.
Yep.
So she's not
Absolutely. So
spinning on a
just write
hamster
them all
wheel.
out. Even if you have to write out the days of the week and what you wear, whatever, do whatever you need to do.
Okay.
Anybody
And
else?
then-
Yes. Sorry, Dana.
Sorry, no, and I know you said that we'll set up and speak individually with her being
Yes.
brand new, so I can probably save, the rest of my questions for
No,
that.
I mean, if they're itching at you, throw them out there, because I'm sure the information is good.
Yeah, just for her specifically, with medicine for being a minor, will they be given to you, or will she manage her own meds?
If she is mature enough to go on this trip alone, she is mature enough to manage her own meds.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just wasn't sure what the protocol was.
That's my protocol.
Okay. And I
Yep.
know you said about that she needs to have the original script. Medicines need to be in the original prescription bottles, or how does?
So this is what they say. They say that you need an original prescription because God forbid you don't have anything and you need to refill it or something of that nature. And they say the original prescription bottle. In my mind, most people who travel with meds consolidate them, and then they bring a picture of the prescription or the bottle with all of the information of the drug and everything on it.
Okay.
You always pack an extra 5 to 7 days of medicine just in case. So that's the big thing, is always put an extra week of medicine in there. They're not going to use it, but just in case something were to happen, they have their medicine.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
That'll allow that I can, that she takes 5 pills every morning. So
Right.
that way
And-
they're
Yep.
in
And
like
me,
several 7
I
days.
take supplements. I don't take pharmaceuticals, but, and this isn't a good example, but I put everything in a bottle like this. I know the colors and I know the colors and everything of what I have to take, but that's how I manage it, because I don't want to take up a lot of space, and my supplements are big. But if you're doing it and you want to put them all in little Ziploc bags and little tinfoil, whatever works for you, do it, but just make sure you have a copy of the original of everything just in case.
Okay.
If you want to title this one, July 15th, July 16th, whatever, do what works for you. Some people, even, older people, will take those little week things, where they have the little pockets.
That's
and you
how
put them
her
in it.
pills are usually.
Then
like,
let her
out
have
for
that.
her.
Let her take
Okay.
that. Just make sure they're in a Ziploc bag, so if it comes undone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then just pictures of the original script, because all of her scripts are digital, but I have obviously the original
Yeah.
pill bottles. So,
Exactly.
okay. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Laura.
Yes. Hi, Sean.
Is there, yeah, it's Sean. Is there, I've been reading as well that like ibuprofen and Tylenol and such is essentially a prescription in Japan. Is that something we should avoid taking with us?
No, absolutely take it. You're
Okay.
fine. In most cases, to say that you don't have things and ask for forgiveness is better than to over inform, right? So, like to put ibuprofen in a bottle in your luggage is fine. If they say, do you have prescriptions? If they say, do you have medicine or whatever, we're not bringing everybody out of the line that has medicine and putting them through the customs line. They're all going through as if they have nothing. It's fine. It's just
Okay.
not. I think what I've learned in travel is that you just answer the questions they've asked and then you walk through with the rest of it. So don't worry about, don't worry about
Okay,
any of that stuff.
thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Abby?
I can be on this call when I'm on desk. But anyway, do you happen to know off the top of your head approximately how much it would cost to upgrade for adult?
I will send you that. Are you both 20?
She turns 21 in May.
Okay, good. So she's 21. It would only be you that needs to upgrade then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason I'm hemming and hawing is because it's going to be one price for Japan now, and it's a different price than it would have been for Japan and China. And I have to see what the adjusted price is. So let me send you that. And I think Rocco, you asked for that as well. So I'll send it to both Abby and Rocco, what the single supplement is for that. Or what actually, you know what? I might be able to tell you. Because essentially you're just going to be paying the adult rate. So for a 20-year-old to go to $750, I think, Abby, is about what it's going to cost you.
Okay.
Rocco, that's not the same as you because you're asking for a single. She's asking to go to a double. So it's a little different for you, but I'll find out what your single room rate would be. And that, Abby, might go down because of the tour change. I don't
I
know.
was gonna say that's not bad at all.
Oh, well, I'm glad you think that. That's good.
But thank you so much.
Okay. Michelle, anything? Jill, Jen, Wendy?
You recommend bug spray on this one?
So I should have said that. That's one of my pet peeves. I don't recommend bug spray ever. So what I do recommend is bug wipes. I recommend they have off wipes, because that way, if you want to use bug preventative, you're only bugging yourself, right? You're not bugging the rest of the people around you by spraying it, and you're not killing the environment by doing it. So that's what I recommend. I always carry bug wipes with me. I rarely ever use them. So just be prepared, but know that you might never need them. It is hot and it is humid. So those are two things that bugs like. So I would definitely be prepared with bug wipes, but whether you use them or not, I think becomes a personal preference.
And then in the same token, you would recommend a cream sunscreen as opposed to spray.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. I'm an environmentalist in terms of that, because I just think it's such a nuisance to everybody around you too. And there's easily 3 ounce or lower sunscreens, you don't need a lot of sunscreen to deal with touring. It's not like you're going to the beach and spending 10 hours there and you're re-lathering your whole body. So it's not a problem to have sunscreen, bug wipes, and all that other stuff in your carry-on luggage. The one thing I always do take, and this is a weird thing, but if you're particular about your hair, they always seem to have shampoo some sort. Sometimes it's watered down, sometimes not, but they don't always have conditioner. In most cases, they don't. So if you do use conditioner, I suggest you bring a little bottle of conditioner. Oh, also washcloths, Dana. If you're not used to being a traveler, you'll realize that no other place in the world uses washcloths. It's so weird. But if you do wash with a washcloth, you'll need that. They do give hair dryers, Michelle. So hair dryers you won't have a problem with at all.
Okay.
Yeah. And what else are you saying? I can't read your lips.
Do they have an ironing boards?
No way. Come on, Michelle. What are you ironing?
Girls gotta ask.
Girls gotta say no. You don't need an
Okay.
iron board. You're gonna look very fine in the wicking clothing you're wearing.
Okay.
And that one summer dress that if it's crinkled, we're gonna say, oh, that was meant to be crinkled, right?
I'm gonna have to buy one.
A non-crinkly dress.
Just a dress.
No, I just got a few actually before my trips to Thailand. I did Southeast Asia and I did Cuba, and I just got a couple on Amazon. They worked very well for me. Anybody else? Questions?
So
All
you'll be in
good?
touch with the individual newbies to set up one-on-one?
Yeah, you tell me when you're comfortable having it, but I'd rather have all the information first. Like I'd rather have the tour itinerary set before we do the one-on-ones. But if you feel like you're getting anxious and you need particular information, I could do it sooner rather than later.
No, this was very, very helpful.
Okay.
I know you said you need passport. We have applied. We have not received it yet. So as soon as
When did you apply?
January.
Oh, wow. Okay, did you do expedited or regular?
I did regular.
Okay, so if you did early January?
It wasn't. I'm sorry. It was the 24th by the time I
Okay,
was able to get an
that's not
appointment.
unusual. That's not unusual. It's probably going to take about 12 weeks or so.
That's what they said, about 11 weeks. So I
yeah.
figured by the
Yeah,
middle
that's-
of April at the latest,
That's
we
not
would have it.
unusual. But you know the
Okay.
exact name that you put on the passport, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, I
because
have
that's tied to the
like I
ticket.
kept, like copies of like the application and
Right.
like receipt and all of that.
That's
So
really the most important thing, is that her ticket matches her passport, because otherwise you would pay for a change fee.
okay.
No, you'll get it. You'll be fine. I mean, they're doing better with passports.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we have, absolutely applied. It is in the works, but
Yes,
that we
thank
do
you.
not have it on hand.
Okay. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'm fine with waiting then until, there is the set and
I'm
she
hoping
would.
that we know in the next 2 weeks, because our
Okay, yeah, that's
110-day
fine.
mark is then, and I'm pushing them to do that. But I will tell you that, it's like the pandemic where they have so many Peru trips, they're changing everybody out. And now the China trips, they're changing everybody out. And it's more than what anybody wants to deal with.
Yeah, so she's fine with, if it ends up that it is solidly just Japan, she would definitely be interested if it can be somewhat, comparable in pricing, adding,
That's what we're
the
trying.
extension. Yeah, so.
All right. Well, I will let everybody know as soon as I know.
All right, thank you so much for
Thank you.
everything.
You're
All right,
welcome.
bye.
I was very,
Was it good, Rocco? Did you get good info?
yes, I was very surprised about the vaccine thing, as I was, because I contacted the travel department at Redner and they were talking about typhoid, yellow fever, Japanese encephalitis, those vaccines.
If you look, it's recommended. Those are recommended vaccines, but they're not mandatory vaccines. And in
Gotcha.
my mind, now you could do whatever you want, but in my mind, I only do what's mandatory. I don't do any of the recommended vaccines.
Yeah,
So-
I'll probably get some of them.
Yeah, if you want to
For
get some of
safety's
them, there are medical travel companies around that you can go to and pay a lot of money, and they can tell you a lot of vaccines that they recommend that you get, and they'll be able to deliver them for a lot more money. And that's all fine if that's what makes you feel comfortable. But
Yeah, just the Asian specific ones I'm gonna look at.
yeah,
Just glad to know I can just get the other ones I've been actually holding off on getting from just the CVS and whatnot. Like I was waiting on the next COVID shot because they were saying you may need to get a doctor's like all the write up and paperwork for it, but apparently that's changing with Japan now. So
it is. Yeah. I think we'll know more in April when they change their guidelines, exactly what we need to do. But I mean, everybody is saying that they're going to lift it all.
yep. Probably not on the table, but I was curious why we wouldn't. Why one of the ideas wasn't just to have like another 4 more days in Japan.
It is, but here's the thing. When you look at EF tours and what would be feasible for them, you have to look at what itineraries they already have in place, because it's a matter of where their contracts are and what they're able to do. So it's easier to find places that they already have relationship with hotels, they already have tours set up, they already have activities. So when that was one of the criteria I had to do, was really look at where they had these things set up and what would work best for us, instead of picking a new, like, for example, there's lots of little islands off of Japan, there's lots of more places in Japan, but in order to explore those places, it has to be within the budget of China, and it has to be places that they already have relationships on the ground. And that's the criteria is such that, and I really felt as though people wanted to hit 2 countries. That was another deciding factor.
Gotcha.
So,
I'll find out about the room stuff later. I need to find out with Sean and Amy as they're trying to decide if they're going to have Ariel share a room with Amy, and me and Sean have a room.
okay. That's fine. And that would be the same price. I don't, Sean,
Yeah,
you're still on.
$750.
So that would be about the same price that I gave Abby. If you upgrade if you upgrade Ariel to Amy's room, it would be about $750, the same as what we just discussed with Abby. But again, it's going to change once we know the final itinerary.
Understood.
Yeah. So yeah, you have a couple weeks to work out the roommate thing and then let me know. Anybody else? All right, I'm gonna end this call then. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you all very soon. All right, take care.